I'm excited to be with you today for this special session with the incredible staff, Carrie Vanderkar and the assistant vice provost for international programs, and Stacey Shimizu, assistant director of the International Center. So today we will learn about the over 500 approved programs in 75 countries with opportunities for nearly every academic interest and personal interest. It's no wonder 23% of Cal Poly students study abroad. So since 2000, Cal Poly has consistently been a leader in study abroad and was recently ranked #1 in the nation among master's level universities. Carrie and Stacey, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kanani. Great to be here today. As Kanani mentioned, my name is Carrie Vanderkar, and I serve as the Assistant Vice Provost for International Programs. And that essentially means that I oversee the International Center here at Cal Poly in our efforts to serve not only, as we're going to talk about today, our students with study abroad opportunities, but also we help support our international students and scholars and support the Fulbright program as well as many other international initiatives here on campus. And I'm here with my colleague, Stacey. Why don't I hand it over to you?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Stacey Shimizu. I'm the Assistant Director here at the International Center, and I oversee part of our study abroad team. So as we move through the presentation, we'll talk about the different kinds of study abroad that we offer, all the opportunities available to your students, and we'll certainly leave time for questions. Let me just double check. Can you see the presentation on the screen? Yep, you can see it.
I can see it. I can see it from mine too.
So before we move on and go over an agenda, Carrie and I just want to sort of thank you for being here and congratulate you and your students for considering studying abroad and the way in which it can be a transformative experience as part of their education. As parents and supporters, you're going to be an important role in the process. You're going to play an important role in the process, providing information, support, moral support, emotional support, informational support, and of course, financial support. Carrie, I'll turn it over to you to go through the next sections.
Great, thank you, Stacey. And to add to Stacey's comments too, we're thrilled. We're thrilled that you're here, that you're interested, that your students might be interested in studying abroad, and have found in our own professional and personal lives how important international education, international engagement has been. And so for me, I've been in the field quite a long time, getting upwards of 30 years, which makes me feel old, but I love the work I do. And I started off studying abroad as a high school student, and then as a college student, spent a year abroad as well, and then went on to do graduate work also abroad and in the field of cultural anthropology, and then shifted into the field of international education. And so thrilled to be here. I've been here at Cal Poly for over 11 years and have really seen a wonderful kind of enhancement of the opportunities that we have through the International Center and the ways to support your students, building out programs in different disciplines, working with different colleagues in the colleges and departments throughout campus, and getting wonderful support from higher administration as well as donors for scholarships. So we're excited to tell you about these opportunities, and we have our brief agenda here. And of course, we remain open for questions as well as we've indicated. So we'll talk about some fast facts just so you can get a little bit of an overview of what we do. We talk about what and why. What is study abroad? Why do we think it's important? What types of programs we offer, how your students can go about finding a program that we hope fits their needs and wants. We talk about academic credit, how that works with study abroad, financial considerations, things to think about that might be part of the program model, what scholarships might be tied to some of those different models, et cetera. And then a little bit about the process and how does it work and how your student can get started. So I'll start off then and talk a little bit about fast facts. So in terms of study abroad, as Kanani indicated in the welcome, Cal Poly has been doing some extraordinary things in this regard, and we're excited about it. We sent over 1,200 students abroad in 24 in 23-24, and we have well over that queued up, we think, for this year as well. So we're excited to see the momentum and kind of restored from COVID years. Of course, we all took a break from different aspects of travel and interaction, and then have been building back since. So we are at about 23% of our students will have studied abroad by the time they graduate. And also that ranking that we're really proud of, that we heard about in November, that we rank first in the nation, and that's among institutions like ours that have the top ranking, kind of top degree that they award is the master's degree. So among master's degree level ranking institutions, we ranked first in the nation, which is really quite exciting. And that's according to the Institute for International Education. You'll see the breakdown here in the fast facts about participation by college, and you see that it's fairly evenly distributed. We are still looking to see how we can help support our colleagues and students in the College of Science and Math, Bailey College of Science and Math, as well as seeing about participation for the students over in the College of Agriculture. But you see it's still pretty evenly distributed, and we're excited about that. We do have hundreds of options. And so we have a variety of program types that we'll go into and throughout many corners of the world. And in terms of length, they really do vary. So we have programs that are from 1 week long. For example, a program that has an opportunity for students to take a course in the fall or in the winter, and then they go abroad during the break for a week. So that's one example of a very short-term program up to an academic or full calendar year. So quite a bit of opportunity. And so your student would be joining the ranks of many who have studied abroad, and we're thrilled to be able to work with them and hope we can get them there.
And just to tag on a little bit what Carrie was saying in terms of our ranking and the length of studying abroad. So we are number one for the total number of students going abroad. But for mid-length programs, so those are programs that are a quarter long or a semester long, we're number 3 in the nation. We're number 1 in the nation for quarter or semester length programs, number 3 for short-term programs, so programs that are under 8 weeks. And we're number 5 in the nation for long-term programs, so for students who are studying abroad for that full academic year or the full calendar year. So we're sort of strong across the board. We thought we'd start by talking about what study abroad is. First of all, study abroad is a credit-bearing educational activity that takes place abroad. So you'll sometimes see in our materials we'll refer to study abroad / study away. It's a distinction in terms of location. So study away generally refers to domestic programs within the United States, and we do offer some of those. But when we're talking like our national ranking, that's strictly international study abroad. It's credit bearing, so all of the coursework that the student does on a study abroad program is a part of their Cal Poly academic record. And it is contributing to their progress towards degree completion. The coursework that they do abroad can be used to fulfill specific course requirements within the general education program, within the major, a minor, and support requirements within their degree as well. Now, for those specific course requirements, they will get approval, and we work with the students before they go to secure those approvals. Although the reality is students can also request those approvals while they're abroad and when they come back. Students can also do coursework abroad simply because it's something that interests them. It does come back to Cal Poly, it's part of their record, and it's counted as a free elective towards their total unit count towards graduation. We do like to make a distinction between study abroad, which is the credit-bearing academic activity, and travel or tourism. So often when I'm talking with students and they talk about, well, I want to do a trip or I want to travel, I want to sort of correct their language and remind them that this is academic, that travel and tourism is fantastic. And if that's really what they're looking to do, they can explore that, and it comes with its own benefits. We won't be talking about it today, but the International Center also works with faculty and students as they engage in non-credit bearing international activities. So these might be students traveling internationally as part of the Center for Service in Action, or participating in an international competition, athletic exhibition games, fine arts performances, conference presentations. So the students are still engaging in an activity that's part of their life at Cal Poly, but they're not receiving academic credit, so it's not going to be on their transcript.
All right, well, shall I get into the why here? So why study abroad? And I imagine that there might be a number of you in the audience here today who have studied abroad yourselves, which is exciting. So some of this information might be intuitive for you. But we think about the different ways in which study abroad really is so complementary and part of experiential learning, which is at the heart of what we do here at Cal Poly and the educational activities that we support. And so other types of high impact practices like study abroad might include service learning, research, field study, internships, etc. And one might say that it provides kind of more of the bang for the buck, right, for your opportunity for your time here at Cal Poly, where you get that opportunity for deeper learning, increased ability to synthesize information and apply knowledge, make connections across disciplines, and then in this case also across cultures. And so we get excited about that. And we see too some wonderful data in terms of students who participate in high impact practices. And so we continue to look at ways that students can multiply that, like have study abroad plus research plus internship plus service learning, for example. And we think about the expanded educational opportunities. So students are taking courses on a particular topic, let's say art and architecture in Spain, and they're able to get out and experience the art and architecture to understand it from different points of view, different academic ways and lenses in which to see the material, and that makes it very exciting. And also interacting if it could be like in terms of an internship, working in a professional setting abroad and learning too about some of those important aspects of being part of a global workforce. What does that mean? How students can prepare themselves to bridge different types of cultural milieus and understand cultural differences, have an increased sense of self-confidence, self-sufficiency, broaden their perspectives, as we say, um, and um, and also thinking too, of I imagine as parents, I'm one as well. We think about like what are we investing? Some things might be a higher cost than studying here at Cal Poly, and so what does that investment look like? And so for example, a 2020 employer insight report indicated that 25% of employers surveyed stated that international experience was a top priority for hiring. And a study by the Institute for International Education on the impact of study abroad on employment showed that 73% of respondents said they discussed their study abroad in an interview, and more than 50% believe their overseas experience led to a job offer. So there are other myriad studies that also look at income and salary related to study abroad and showing that there are some correlations between higher pay. And so we get excited about all these things in terms of return of investment beyond what we also know as the important benefits for personal growth and for those avenues for enhanced understanding across cultures.
So in terms of what we offer at Cal Poly, as Carrie mentioned earlier, we have hundreds of options. And one way to think about the programs that we offer is to think about who's delivering them. That tends to be the way in which we present them to our students. So first of all, there are Cal Poly Global programs. These are programs designed and delivered by Cal Poly faculty for Cal Poly students. So they're doing a Cal Poly course or courses. Some of those global programs are campus-wide, so they're focused more on general education, and any students from any major can participate. But we also have Cal Poly Global programs that are designed that are more discipline specific. So for example, we have mechanical engineering in Rome, designed specifically by the College of Engineering for mechanical engineer students. Cal Poly International Exchanges are another type of program. Those are bilateral relationships that Cal Poly has cultivated with overseas universities. And what they do is that they allow Cal Poly students to study at that university overseas, and for students from that overseas university to come to Cal Poly. So providing enrichment for both campuses. The international exchanges are essentially authorized at the college level. So some of our exchanges, for example, have been reviewed and approved by the College of Engineering specifically for engineering students. So they might not be open to students in the College of Business. Or we might have business exchanges that are not open to students from the College of Architecture and Engineering and Environmental Design. But the good thing about that is that the colleges themselves, the Cal Poly colleges, have reviewed the curriculum offered at our partner institutions and determined that they're a good fit for our students. CSU international programs. So these are programs, these are for the most part international exchanges, but they're not organized between Cal Poly and a university overseas. They're organized by the California State University system with these partner universities overseas. So again, it's an exchange. It allows Cal Poly students and students from other CSU institutions to study at a host university abroad, and students from those universities abroad to then come to one of the CSU campuses. Probably the largest number of offerings that we have are through what we call our partner programs. Partner programs are study abroad opportunities that are organized by an outside organization, often a not-for-profit educational organization that specializes in creating study abroad programs for students from U.S. universities. The benefits of partner programs, one, it's what allows us to offer so many programs in so many different locations. Partner programs because they're designed specifically for students from U.S. universities. They're a way to open up parts of the world to students who may not have the language skills otherwise, because the courses would be taught in English. But partner programs also are dedicated to language study. So students who are pursuing fluency in French, for example, can do a partner program where all of the coursework would be in French. So it offers a really incredibly wide range of opportunities for students. The National Student Exchange, this is where we get into that sort of study abroad, study away distinction. The National Student Exchange is a consortium of institutions, about 120 from across the US territories, and Canada. Like the Cal Poly International Exchanges and the CSU International Program Exchanges, they're a way for students to move between institutions. But this is a way for Cal Poly students who may not have the interest or the desire to do an international program to still get, to still explore a different location. And we know the United States is large and varied, region to region. And so for a student from California to maybe take a semester or a year and study in Puerto Rico or in Maine or Massachusetts, very different kind of an experience. It opens up access to universities with specific strengths that maybe are slightly different from what Cal Poly has. And it also allows students who are considering graduate school or their careers to explore a different region within the US to see if that's somewhere that they might want to go as they move forward after they graduate from Cal Poly. And then the last item on this slide is our First Year Go program, First Year Global Opportunities. We're very excited this coming spring quarter, spring of 2025, we'll be running our first program designed specifically for Cal Poly students in their first year of study at the university. This is a new venture for us, but we're very excited. It's an opportunity for students to get that international experience early in their academic careers, to sort of kickstart their growth, their international growth, their leadership skills, but also leaving the door open for them to study abroad maybe a second time in their junior year, more focused on their major. And we anticipate expanding our first year global opportunities in the coming years. So that's one way to talk about programs, is who's delivering it, who's participating. Another way of thinking about studying abroad programs is to think about what the educational experience is going to be like. So this slide sort of talks with you a little bit about who might be in the classroom with the student, and what the educational experience would be like. So a faculty-led program, those would be our Cal Poly Global programs. So it's a Cal Poly faculty member with a cohort of Cal Poly students. And they're together overseas doing Cal Poly coursework. So great for students who want that Cal Poly specific experience, who want to develop that relationship with their peers, with their faculty. And I think for many parents and supporters, the idea of the student going with other people from Cal Poly is attractive. I think sort of a study abroad is like a continuum, and at one end is the faculty-led, where it's just students from Cal Poly, and at the other end it would be something like direct enrollment, which is where a student is attending a university overseas for a semester or a year. So the student is actually entering into the university. They're doing university coursework with local students, taught by local faculty, maybe with other international students. And part of that is that they're entering a different educational system. So they're learning and navigating a new set of educational norms and expectations. But it also gives them access to the resources that a university provides, student organizations, a library, residence hall, all of that kind of support. But you can see how a faculty-led program and a direct enrollment would be a very different kind of an experience for students. So that's something that students might want to consider. Direct enrollment programs are particularly good for students who are self-motivated, who are independent, a bit more independent, and who really want that experience of living within a culture and getting to know their peers from a different culture. Center-based programs, that's where we're talking about like a lot of our partner programs. So these are organized by U.S. institutions, U.S. organizations, to deliver coursework for U.S. university students overseas. So the students are not at a host university abroad, but they are at an academic center taking courses designed for them specifically as U.S. students. So the other students in the classroom will be U.S. students, but they're not taught by Cal Poly faculty, right? So I see center-based as sort of closer to faculty-led, but sort of moving on that continuum. Hybrid programs are opportunities that are center-based, but give the students an option to do 1 or 2 or 3 of their courses at a local university. So it combines the benefits of both direct enrollment and center-based. So maybe the familiarity of coursework taught using U.S. pedagogical standards and expectations with other U.S. study abroad students, but also the experience and access to courses at a local university with local students. Gives them a little bit of both. We also offer experiential programs. So those, they still use classrooms, but they're much more focused on getting students out of the classroom and engaged in hands-on activity. So students might be studying environmental resource management, and the program is taking them out into the wilderness where they're doing field study, they're gathering data. These kinds of programs often have like an independent research project built into them. So really good for students who want that hands-on experience as part of their preparation. And then, of course, we have domestic programs. So those would be like our national student exchange programs, but also some of our partner programs. Wildlands, for example, offers domestic programs. So just a couple of different ways of thinking of types of programs.
I thought I just mentioned, Stacey, too, that with types of experiences, some other variations on hybrid have included 2 opportunities for students to take some coursework here on campus and then go abroad. So we've seen some more and more programs develop along this vein. It can help mitigate some of the cost of the overseas components, but also still allow for that and ways to have kind of capstones to different types of courses. And so that's been exciting to see. We've also seen some combinations of virtual, so some virtual engagement with overseas institutions, which has been really beneficial for our students as well. I thought I'd just continue on in terms of academic credit, because we know that that's really important for you, for your students, and so for their experiences abroad. And so we really look for all of our students while they're abroad to, when they're in the academic year, so in a fall, winter, or spring quarter currently, that they're enrolled in a full-time course load. And so we have the information here in terms of a quarter or some of our semester programs. A lot of the world works in semesters. And so when we shift to a semester institution here in fall of 26, that kind of helps us out in terms of international programming. And some will vary. So some programs will be less than full-time, actually quite a few. And then we have quite a few that are also at least 6 quarter credits to help support students who might need financial aid for their experiences. In terms of credit, though, we look at ways to help support students in getting GE, major, minor support, or free elective credit, ideally before they go abroad. We really encourage our students to look at how they can get course pre-approvals and have a really good idea of what kind of credit they'll get and how it will count here at Cal Poly. And so we have different mechanisms to help support our students. We have a course pre-approval process that's delineated on our website. And we focus on this too in different aspects of our advising. And we have Study Abroad 101 workshops that we offer, and even a specific workshop on the GE, meaning general education, substitution, and pre-approval process. And so we have these forms. We worked closely with our colleagues, both in the Office of the Registrar, the GE Governance Board and chair of that board, a faculty member, and also our colleagues out in the colleges in terms of getting these pre-approvals. And we're excited to see that in our efforts in the last several years that we've been able to have quite a cache of pre-approved classes that students can find in connection with their program choices. Now, some will have more than others, depending on how many students have traveled on those particular programs. And we continue to look at ways that we can help support building out those pre-approvals so students can see what courses have already been approved here at Cal Poly and where they might need to have some pre-approvals in place. Or as Stacey mentioned, they can get some approvals while they're abroad or upon return. We always encourage it to be more on the front side. So decisions for different types of processes like the GE approval process, it can take 6 to 8 weeks. So we really encourage students to get started early so that they can have information going into application deadlines and commitment deadlines for programs. The major and minor support, major and minor substitution forms, those decisions are made by the departments and the colleges. So just depending on their processes and their timelines, it can vary in terms of timing. And then just as a note, and I think that Stacey mentioned this earlier too, is that all of the coursework taken abroad is part of the Cal Poly record. And so that depending on the program type, that if it's a faculty-led program, one of our global programs, then the credit is directly Cal Poly credit. Otherwise, when we're looking at our exchanges or partner programs, then we're looking at transfer credit that's articulated separately, but then is part of the higher education GPA and counted toward the degree progress for our students.
In terms of finding the right program, that's sort of a lot of the work that we do, and that we have trained peer advisors to help your students with. As we've said, hundreds of programs, so finding the right program can sometimes feel daunting. And if you've gone to our website, I've got the link there, abroad.calpoly.edu, you'll see that we have a searchable database, which can sometimes feel overwhelming. Um, so we do have a pre-advising module that we encourage students to do. It's online. And it just walks them through some questions to help them better define what they want to get out of the study abroad experience. But what we also wanted to encourage you is to take the opportunity to help your student define what they're looking for in their program. So questions that you could help them, you can prompt them with, like, why are you studying abroad? Many students will think about where they want to go, and not think about the coursework so much as the location. But so getting your student to think about, well, what kind of coursework do you want to do? Are you looking for coursework within your major? Are you looking for general education requirements? That might change the locations of the programs that make the most sense. What length of program? A short experience, a longer experience, an experience that gives you the opportunity to really dig into the culture, or one that fits within a very busy schedule of other commitments. Think about the people that you want to interact with while you're abroad. So do you want that Cal Poly experience, to be abroad with your faculty and with your peers at Cal Poly? Or are you really interested in meeting people your age from a different culture? So that might direct you to different types of programs. What are your language skills like? That might affect your program options as well, right? And if one of the goals is attaining proficiency or fluency, then really thinking about how strong your language skills are at the moment. So how much access will you have, based on those skills, to doing coursework entirely in that second language, or coursework with native speakers, right? And then I think a big one is for students to think about how self-directed and independent they want. Our partner programs provide a lot of services, a lot of support for the students, whereas some of our exchanges really require students to be self-directed, to manage their own time and to make a lot more of their own arrangements. So for students who want a lot of independence, direct enrollment might be very appealing. For students who want someone else to take care of details, then a global program or a partner program might make more sense.
All right, should we talk about money? So financial considerations. So we know that financial considerations are important, and it's important for your students to have all the information they can in terms of how financial aid might be utilized for the different programs that they're interested in. And so the costs do vary by program, and they can vary by location. As we know, there are different parts of the world, even parts of the US, as we know, that are more expensive. And so when we look at the cost that might be for a student going to Tokyo, compared to a student maybe going to Chiang Mai, Thailand, there'll be variances in terms of that, but also in terms of the program type. So that's important for your students to know, what is included, what's not included in terms of their program costs. We try to have comprehensive information about the programs that we have, that are Cal Poly. So our Cal Poly global programs, our exchanges, where we have our faculty or direct relationships. And then we link to our partner websites for the other information related to program costs. So it's important for your students to kind of compare apples to apples in terms of the full cost of attendance here at Cal Poly and the full cost of attendance at one of our study abroad destinations. And so in terms of what's available, we do have resources on our Fund Your Study Abroad Experience flyer. It's indicated here. And so we try to really lay out the different program models and what types of aid work with different types of programs. And you'll find, your student will find that for our exchanges, whether it's one of our direct exchanges or one through the CSU, those tend to be some of the more affordable options for students in terms of cost. And students typically will pay either Cal Poly or the CSU Chancellor's Office directly for tuition and fees, and then be able to kind of exchange places with another student from that other institution or in that suite of institutions that we have a partnership. And so there are quite a few types of programs though where the students pay the partner program directly. And so that's something to keep in mind. And other types of opportunities, as I mentioned, are billed through Cal Poly or through the Chancellor's office. So if there are any questions though related to a student's financial aid package, what may work with a particular program, we have wonderful support and collaboration with our colleagues in the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships. So they are there to help students understand how their financial aid package might work with a particular study abroad program. And we also offer continually financial aid and scholarship workshops for students. So they can kind of distill out what might be important for them and some scholarship opportunities that might really work for them. And so we've been really fortunate in the last, I'd say probably about 5 or so years, we've been able to build out pretty comprehensively some of our scholarships, in particular for students with high need or financial need generally. But even with that, other types of scholarships that are available for different types, partner program organizations, as Stacey mentioned, most of them are nonprofit and they often have fundraising opportunities themselves. And so they're able to provide some layers of support that students can apply for. And so we continue to look at how we can increase access in study abroad and have funding opportunities available for students. So we really want them to pay attention to those scholarships. And sometimes the scholarship deadlines are before program deadlines. And sometimes that's intentional so that students can understand what types of scholarships they may or may not have going into a program deadline or a program confirmation timeline. So things to keep in mind. The planning ahead is really helpful in terms of having all the information and the preparation to be successful while abroad.
And I would just add, as Carrie was saying, we've really tried to build out the scholarships that we're able to offer here at Cal Poly for study abroad. I think so far for calendar year 2024, we've offered certainly over $300,000 in scholarship. I think it's closer to $500,000 at this point. Now, some of those awards are small, $100, $200, but some of them are running into the 5 figures. So it's really to a student's benefit to explore the scholarship options and to do it as they're exploring their study abroad options, not to wait until they've applied for study abroad, because sometimes they will have missed the deadlines. We also know that health and safety is a major consideration for students and for parents and supporters. So just to give you an idea of some of the policies and structures that we have in place here. First of all, students at Cal Poly cannot study in a location that has a State Department travel advisory of a level 3 or level 4. Now, there are some instances where a student may have a very good reason for looking at a level 3 location, and depending on the actual advice from the State Department, the student can submit a petition to be considered by the provost for special dispensation to study there. The CSU system also has a list of high hazard locations, and so we don't allow students to study in those destinations as well. All of our students are required to carry insurance while they are abroad. This is mandated by the CSU system. For students on our partner programs, the insurance is usually provided through the partner with a very small overlay of CSU liability insurance. And then for students on our Cal Poly Global programs, our Cal Poly exchanges, they'll be enrolled in a full CSU foreign travel insurance program. We do get a lot of questions from students about this insurance. Students have insurance here in the U.S., but the insurance that they're getting for their study abroad really is important because it addresses things that their U.S.-based insurance isn't designed for. So it covers things like family medical reunification. So if a student gets injured or ill, and it makes sense for a family member to join them for a period while they're undergoing treatment, the insurance covers some of those costs, or medical repatriation. So again, a student is injured or ill, and it makes sense for them to be returned to the US to undergo treatment. That's covered. So it's designed for accident and sickness, not for general wellness. Knock wood, our students won't need to access this insurance, but if they do need to access it, it is essential that they have it. All of our programs have some form of on-site support and assistance. So certainly with Cal Poly Global programs, there's a faculty member, but we also, for all of our global programs, are partnering with an organization that has on-site staff or additional staff to support the faculty and the students. Our partner programs have permanent staff who reside in that country, who understand the language, the culture, can help them navigate the system, who can help them if they need to, they're not feeling well and they need to see a doctor, who can help them get an appointment at a clinic. So there's that assistance for them on site. For students on exchange programs, it will be an office like ours at the university overseas that's there to support international students. All of our students go through a multi-part pre-departure program offered by Cal Poly. This includes an online course that they're required to do, a Zoom meeting with our staff, and then some optional meetings as well. And then for students on global programs, additional orientations with their faculty and their peers. Plus, there's pre-departure programming offered by our partner programs. When students arrive on site overseas, there's additional orientation to help them sort of get situated in their host location, to point out stores and ATMs and how to navigate the transportation system, to talk with them about parts of the city perhaps that they should not go to after dark, just sort of giving them an understanding of how to manage their well-being while they're there. And then at the end, I put student behavior, because I think the reality is what Carrie and I see, that when students are having health and safety issues, it's often tied to student decisions, to what they're doing in their free time. So it's trying to instill through our pre-departure programming and with your assistance in your conversations with them, to exercise common sense, and to take responsibility for safeguarding their own well-being.
Yeah, excellent points. Thanks, Stacey. And so just to take you through kind of a brief overview of our application process and what to expect for your students is that, well, first, as Stacey has indicated, we have a database, a searching tool that folks can utilize. And with that is this online pre-advising module that helps guide students through our process. We additionally have Study Abroad 101 workshops and myriad information sessions that are by program. It could be very specific to a faculty-led program. It could be for a suite of programs. And so those are really great for students to pay attention to and attend many, just to get a kind of a sense of like, what's the flavor of this program? Is this something that I might want to do? And so all of these tools are to help assist the students in narrowing down the different options that we have. Sometimes they come in and they know exactly what they want to do because they've heard about it from a friend or a faculty member, and that's fine too. We just do hope that they'll kind of look to, just kind of verify again that this is the right option for them. But that's also an exciting place to be. So from kind of these different more, the online module, self-paced to info sessions to 101 workshops, we then have opportunities for students to meet with our advisors. And so we have peer advisors that really help in terms of some of those frontline questions and help to navigate for the students some of those next steps, which might be also meeting with a professional advisor. We have a team of study abroad advisors and coordinators that can really help your students to get into some of the nitty-gritty about the programs, maybe about some of their own types of situations. Students might have might want to have a conversation about different types of accommodations that they might be working with the Disability Resource Center on, or other types of things related to their own experience. And so we do have the professional advisors that are ready to help support them and find a way to make our programs work best for them. We have great partnerships with the academic advisors in the different colleges, as well as the Mustang Success Center that works with our first-year students. And so those folks can help students to understand the curriculum and how that might best fit for their degree planning. We always want to help support students in continuous progress toward their degrees, and so that the study abroad experience complements that, augments that, and with that great planning can ensure that students continue to be on time for graduation. And so then we have those opportunities for the course pre-approvals and how that can happen. We hope a pre-departure for students. It can happen at any time again. And then, as I mentioned earlier, too, with the financial aid and scholarships colleagues, that they can work with your students too in terms of that planning for their own particular aid package. Then we move on to the application process. And then again, scholarships deadlines that can come up at different times that may or may not be at the same timing as the program deadline.
Been a lot of information we've sort of thrown your way, but hopefully we've covered a lot of the questions that you had when you joined the session. But we're happy to answer any additional questions you might have at this time.
Folks, you can just use the Q&A button down there if you do have any questions. Carrie and Stacey, a question did come in over here, actually two of them, and I'm just kind of combining them. The parent says, I appreciated the information on health and safety. If my son goes overseas and something goes really wrong, will Cal Poly assist me with trying to solve the problem?
That's an excellent question and really appreciate that. And we do have structures in place to help support our students and faculty who are with our students while abroad. And so in addition to on-the-ground support that we have either through a program provider, a service provider working with our faculty programs, an international office in our direct enroll opportunities, we do have 24/7 connections to Cal Poly through the dispatch line, and they have lines to Stacey and me. And so we can activate our Global Health and Safety Committee and work to see what aspects of the insurance might need to be triggered for the student. If it's so urgent that we need to work with the embassy or consulate there nearby, we've done that. And so just depending on what the issue is, we work to get the resources in place to help support the student and the families.
Great. Stacey, you look like you wanted to add something on there, or were you just smiling? Okay. All right, great. Well, it sounds like there's a lot of touch points and points of contact to assist students that are studying abroad that might encounter difficulties. So thanks for talking about all those. I have another parent here, parent supporter, who is talking about how their student really wants to study abroad, and their student is maybe not the most organized. And so this parent is trying to kind of support their student in that. And if you had to pick like top 3 things that a student that's considering study abroad would need to do, what would you recommend those top 3? Just some general headings there.
For me, I think a conversation within their academic program is really important. It can help a student, depending on the degree that the student's pursuing, there might be a particular time that makes most sense for a student to go abroad. So for them to have a conversation earlier, I don't know if this is something I want to do, but if I were to do it, is there a particular time that makes sense? Are there particular courses that I really need to do on campus, or are there courses that you think really lend themselves to study abroad? To sort of, because the advisors and the faculty within their program know that in a way that we can't possibly. So it gives them some sort of parameters of what they can be thinking about. And then I think, as Carrie said, just gathering information, attending our information sessions, seeing the different types of programs, and doing that pre-advising module, having conversations with with parents and supporters about what kind of experience do they want. I think when a student has some goals going into the search for a program, that list of 500 something programs, isn't so daunting. They can sort of easily dismiss the programs that aren't giving them what they're looking for.
That's really helpful information. Thanks, Stacey. Okay, we have another question here. What is the timing for applications generally? For example, if a student wants to go abroad in fall 2025.
So great question. And so for fall 2025, we see a range of deadlines. I think some of the earliest come up in early February, and then I think most of them conclude by mid-March or mid-April, I'm sorry. And so that's the typical time frame. So it can depend on how soon we might need to have a roster, or if it's a program that fills. Sometimes that's something the students need to kind of check in with us. Is it a really impacted program? Is there high interest? Might they need to get their applications in early? So we're really we hit the ground running in winter quarter here for fall and summer programs 25, and so those deadlines do come up quickly. So they can check in with us, and the program deadlines should be on each program brochure on our website, so they can look and see, the students can look and see if is it a rolling deadline, is it one deadline for all applications to be submitted, and then they're all considered for a particular program, and it does vary.
Yeah, I would say in general, a student should certainly be doing the application at least 6 months before the program, before they decide to go abroad. But having some of those conversations about the academics even before then is a good idea.
Thanks so much. Okay, could you please tell us a little bit more about the new GO program for the first year students and how it impacts their eligibility to participate again in study abroad programs?
Great question. And yeah, we are really excited about our first year Global Opportunity Program. And in terms of impact, we hope that it's a jumping off point for students to think about a future opportunity in study abroad that might be maybe later in their academic career. There might be different types of coursework that the students want to do. So it does not change any eligibility in terms of for students to be able to study abroad again. And so it's one that, we're gearing up with a cohort of about 30 students for this coming spring. And so we'll offer it for first year students, we hope, on an ongoing basis. And then a lot of the courses are general education. There are some major specific with business in particular. And so that they're able to get that combination for students who are in the College of Business.
Great. I'm excited to hear how that program goes. All right. This parent says we don't pay Cal Poly tuition for the quarter that our student is abroad, correct? Question. And can you give us a general range of cost?
So students will pay a tuition fee, but it may not be a Cal Poly tuition fee. So if they're doing a Cal Poly Global program, there will be a program fee that includes the cost of the coursework. For a CSU International program, they'll pay the base California State tuition fee. And then for things like our partner programs, they'll pay a program fee that includes the cost of the coursework. But students will not be charged Cal Poly tuition and something else, right? So it's really a question of if it's billed by Cal Poly, the cost will be Cal Poly tuition, either directly as tuition or as part of a program fee. Or if it's a partner program, Cal Poly won't bill for tuition. It will just be wrapped up in the fee that the partner program bills.
Understood. And then when folks are asking about a general range of cost, that's listed on your website, and it varies so much between programs, correct?
It does, and I think that it's important to note that some of the programs, I've kind of done a bit of a study on the different range of costs, and so I think typically we find that on average the cost can be between $5,000 and $8,000 more. That's on average. So some are higher and then some are lower. So I think that's one thing to keep in mind too, is that some of our exchanges that as we've talked especially the CSU system-wide exchanges, can be they might turn out to be less than going to Cal Poly by a little bit. So, and it also depends on whether you're a resident or non-resident, right? So some of our programs, abroad, that was the range I gave was mainly for residents and looking at resident cost of tuition and fees and cost of experience here. So it does range, and that's why it's so important for students to look at the information about the program costs, get the financial aid consultation, and also those scholarships that can really help bridge that gap too.
Yeah, and one of the challenges, at least for the next year plus, is that we are on a quarter system. And so many of our partner programs and our exchanges are on a semester. And so it can be a bit of a challenge to compare, what one pays for a quarter versus what one is paying for a longer experience for a semester. That's in part why fall, I think, has been so popular at Cal Poly, is that students are getting a full semester experience, but only missing one quarter at Cal Poly. But the reality is that students who do a spring semester may actually be saving a little bit on tuition because they're taking 2/3 of the tuition that they'd be paying to Cal Poly and applying it to a semester program. So
That's really timely, Stacey, and a good segue because this parent is asking, how does the change to semesters in 2026 affect credit reserved while abroad?
In some ways, it's going to make our lives easier because so many of our programs the credit is already in semester credits. So one of the conversations I often have with students is that there's a lot more math involved when they're getting ready to study abroad than they anticipate. So right now we're coaching students on how to convert semester credits to quarter hours. When we move to the semester, there won't be any conversion. The credit's already in semester hours. Yeah.
Right. It's going to be a lot of work to change over to semesters here coming up, but there are some good things.
Exactly.
Great. I think this parent is referring to the question is too late for the summer, and that's maybe studying abroad in summer. No.
Not at all too late.
Great
No.
timing.
Perfect timing.
Yes.
All right.
Similar deadlines to the fall, starting with a February 1st. Some of our summer programs have February 1st, and then going into mid-April.
But a lot of our summer programs will have deadlines really ranging from mid-March into our deadline for summer is April 15th. So mid-March to mid-April is probably where the majority of our partner program deadlines are falling.
Okay. And is that also for the GO program? Because this parent is wondering when the deadline to apply for the GO program is. Did you say that?
The first year GO program is a spring quarter program this year and for next year, and so that deadline was in the fall for this year. For any incoming students as of fall 25, they will be able to apply in fall 25 for spring 26.
Okay, great. Well, we're getting right down to the end of our time together. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Thank you so much, Carrie and Stacey, for sharing your insights and the incredible work that you do with Study Abroad. It's clear that the program plays a vital role in supporting our students' success here at Cal Poly. I want to mention too that the Lunch and Learn webinar series is sponsored by the Parent Advisory Council and hosted by Parent and Family Programs. And it's a resource for Cal Poly parents and supporters featuring campus and community experts. And so you can review this recording when we have it posted, and all previous webinar sessions. You can visit the Stay Informed tab at parent.calpoly.edu, and Stanley has that in the chat there for you, that link. So as we wrap up, I want to remind everyone that the resources and guidance offered by Study Abroad are designed to help students thrive both academically and personally. And if you have any further questions or need more information, please contact the Study Abroad team. So thank you all for joining us today, and a special thanks again to Carrie and Stacey for your time and expertise. Take care, folks.